People pay me $65 to replace a simple potentiometer like this one. The only reason I charge so much is because I don't really want to do this job. But then people pay me anyway. I'll show you how easy it is to do this correctly if you have some basic tools, so you don't have to bother me with a simple job. But first, welcome back to Guitar Quackery, where we use scientifically proven methods to fix, build, and study guitars. Today, let's do some fixing. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, if you want something done right, you better do it yourself. That means if you need to replace a guitar pot, don't bring it to some guitar tech. I mean, some other guitar tech. Of course, you can always bring it to me if you want it done correctly. Although you now know I don't really want to do this job, but you can bring it to me anyway. And if you do, bring your wallet too. Unless you want to do it yourself using my instructions, which I am about to explain. If you are a subscriber to this channel, which you should be, and if you're not yet, just click the link below. So you might have watched my review of this Epiphone power player guitar. Yeah? And if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. You also might have watched my review video of this tool called a spanner wrench, right? So, sorry. Guitar Quackery? Oh, yes, I will be giving it away. I just haven't gotten to it yet. All right. Oh, and subscribe. Okay, this viewer remembers that I made an announcement about doing a giveaway of this tool. Yeah, I'm working on it, right? So, let's see what the problem is. So, in my spanner wrench review video, I showed you how you can easily use it to remove these caps. Well, as I was preparing to shoot the video, I tried to remove this cap and the whole shaft came out. So now the stone pot is broken and needs to be replaced. So while we have the guitar here, I can show you how this spanner wrench can be used to unlock this nut. There are two sides to the spanner wrench. This side is to turn components counterclockwise. So the little teeth will grab onto the nut and you just simply turn it. So now you can just continue freehand. All right, so before we get into the actual work, let's talk about what are the tools that you will need. Never attempt to do any soldering without a soldering iron. Let's have a look at this one. This is just your basic soldering iron. It has a stand and a tip cleaner. If you don't have a fancy one like this, you can just use a wet paper towel as a tip cleaner and then clean it this way. Another thing you will need for sure is solder. This is a 60-40 solder. That means it has 40% lead in it. So just be careful. Leaded solder is easier to use because it has a lower melting temperature. So you might also need some cutters. If you don't have this, you'll have to improvise somehow. One thing that you need for sure is a way to protect the finish on your guitar. Okay, so don't do any soldering inside of the cavity without protecting everything around it. I like to use a terry cloth, so never use any synthetic cloths because if the solder splashes onto it, it'll melt right through it and damage your finish. You will need something to hold your component. I like to use one of those Stumac vices. So you want to do as much soldering as possible outside of away from your guitar, right? And I like to use a vise. So since you probably don't have one of those laying around, I have to show you how you can improvise. One good trick is to use one of those. So this is now secured, and you can turn it around, and you can use two hands, one for the soldering iron and one for the solder, to work on this. If you don't do your laundry at home, you don't have one of those clothespins, use some of this poster putty. Now I already have a piece here that I use all the time, so you basically just use it to secure your workpiece. That's it. Now, another thing that you might want to use is a solder sucker, but you can do it without this. It's always a good idea to test your components before you install them, and here I will show you how to test a potentiometer. So this is a multimeter. We have to set this one manually. So that's a 500K pot. So we have to go into the mega ohm range. 500 kilo ohms is half a mega ohm. So first we want to test the resistor inside of this potentiometer, which is from here to here. Oh, I am not in the right range, so that's a 200K range, which is why it was showing me overload. So I have to go into the mega ohm range, and now it's going to show me roughly half a mega ohm. That's close enough. But we also want to make sure the wiper works. So when we twist it all the way in this direction, we should be reading 0 from here to here, and we should be reading 500K from here to here. That's it. And when we twist it in the other direction, then it's the other way around. We should be reading 0 here, right? And 500K from here to here. Now, we won't get into the whole debate if you have to use audio taper pots or linear pots for this. Here we're using the exact component that is inside of the guitar. Now I have a pre-soldered capacitor on this because this is a salvaged component. If you need to do this pre-soldering yourself, I will show you how to do this easily. Basically, with the soldering iron, you need to warm up the component itself and then touch the component when it's hot, and the solder will start melting. Okay, then you can spread it around and just remove the soldering iron without moving anything. When it's completely cold, then you can move it away. Okay, so now we have to put the guitar back on the bench. I've already removed the cover, and I'm going to now remove that nut and the washer from the guitar. And let's have a look at the guitar. So I removed the nut and the washer. These can now go away. There's another lock nut here. This one can go away. And we want to stash these wires inside and protect the finish on our guitar. Now I'm going to use the clothespin here. And we are going to remove only 2 wires. That's all there is to it. You might have to remove the capacitor as well. But as you know, I have a tone pot that's already pre-soldered like this, right? So in order to remove these wires, you'll have to melt the solder. So just be patient and remove the wire. And we do the same here. That's it. Now, if you ever forget which wire is which, it's easy to find. So this wire here is coming from the volume pot. So that's not the grounding wire. This wire will be connected here. Yeah? And this wire is connected straight to ground. So this wire will be connected to ground here. Okay, so let's remember that and put our new potentiometer on the clothespin. Okay, so once again, that's the grounding wire. I'm just making sure. We want to first solder whatever is difficult to access. So why don't we solder this lead wire first? So in this case, we don't really need to do this, but I'm going to show you how to prep the tip of the wire just to include it in this demo. We are going to cut this off and just strip a little bit of insulation. Now this is a very annoying wire that actually stretches when you try to strip it, especially if you use the wrong setting. And here we want to twist it a little bit, and we want to prime this lead wire, just the tip. So we warm up the wire and we prime it, and we're done. We don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to trim a little bit. That's it. Always keep track of all these little pieces because they contain lead. This is kind of ugly too, so let me prime this one as well. Twist. Same procedure. Okay. Now that's all prep. That's our wire that goes to ground, which is why I left it longer, and that will be that'll help us to identify them, because now I am covering all this, and the ground wire can be longer because it goes right on top here. So now we want to solder this wire first. So let's move the capacitor out of the way a little bit, maybe twist like that, and we come from here. We want to not touch it at all, if possible. So sometimes you have to improvise when you do things, and perhaps secure it in some creative way. That's it. We want to warm up the component. And then melt the solder on the actual component. When it's completely cooled off, we can move it. That's not the best solder joint, so I have to fix it. So it was pushed inside a little bit. Now the wires that are inside of this guitar are really not my favorite wires, because the insulation around the wire keeps melting. This is why I like to use cloth covered pushback wire, but we'll talk about this some other time. Let's just finish this job. And now let's just solder this one on. Whenever possible, we want to just secure it mechanically and do the soldering and let it just cool off without anything moving. All right, so that's what I'm trying to do now. So here it's going to take more time to heat up this component, and we just add some solder. That's it. Now, all that remains to be done is this. We put the washer back, the locking washer. And on the other side, I am going to install these. So we hold it, we make sure it's not hot. This is a self-explanatory procedure. Of course, we're going to test the guitar. And always make sure that all of your components are secure and tight. So here we're going to use the spanner wrench to tighten it. Now, it is difficult to hold this shaft, so you can just turn it counterclockwise. Use a flathead screwdriver to hold the shaft, and turn it a little bit counterclockwise as you're turning the nut clockwise. We want to test it, so let's plug it in. So this is our neck pickup. So we'll put it on neck. Volume all the way up. Okay. We're done with this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. What else? There's a link below to buy me a coffee. There's a link to become a patron. I hope this helped you, and see you next time.